Lily Martinez returned to Earth as a hero, the first human to establish meaningful contact with the mysterious Zebulons. Her success story spread through the United Earth government, and soon she found herself promoted to Chief Interspecies Ambassador, a position created specifically for her talents. 6 months passed filled with meetings, interviews, and training sessions for other diplomats who hoped to learn her secrets. But Lily knew there was no secret formula, only genuine respect and hard work. She missed the alien world, and often touched the crystal pendant that still hummed with the musical tones of the princess name. One quiet evening, as Lily sat in her apartment overlooking the rebuilt Chicago skyline, her communication panel chimed with an urgent priority message: Ambassador Martinez, please report to UEG headquarters immediately. The automated voice announced, "We have received an unexpected transmission from Zebulon." Her heart racing. Lily rushed to headquarters where Admiral Kate Watson waited with an unreadable expression on her weathered face. "Ambassador." The Admiral nodded toward a screen they sent this 1 hour ago. The screen flickered to life, showing the familiar face of Princess Zilla Frixanath, her tentacles arranged in a pattern that Lily instantly recognized as extreme distress. "Lily Martinez of Earth." The princess voice wavered. "Our world faces great danger. The Vorax Empire approaches with warships. They seek our crystal resources and care nothing for our people. I call upon our friendship and the bonds between our worlds, please. If Earth can help us, we will be forever in your debt." The message ended and Lily turned to the Admiral, her mind already racing with possibilities. "The Vorax?" she asked, never having heard the name before. "Aggressive expansionists from the Andromeda Rim," Admiral Watson explained. "We've had limited contact, but their reputation precedes them. They strip mine worlds and leave civilizations in ruins. How long until they reach Zebulon 4? Lily asked. 3 Earth weeks at most," the Admiral replied. "The Council is divided. Some want to stay out of an alien conflict. Others believe we should honor our new alliance with the Zebulons. I need your insight, Ambassador. You're the only human who truly understands them." Lily thought of the princess, of the cultural exchange they had begun, of the trust that had been so carefully built. "I believe we must help them, Admiral, not just because of our agreements, but because it's the right thing to do. The Zebulons are peaceful. They have no significant military. Their technology focuses on art creation and environmental harmony." Admiral Watson nodded thoughtfully. "The problem is, our fleet is limited and scattered. We could send 2, maybe 3 ships at most, not enough to face a Vorax battle group head-on. Then we need something besides military power," Lily said firmly. "I request permission to return to Zebulon 4 immediately with a team of our best diplomatic and strategic advisors. Perhaps we can find another solution." "Permission granted," the Admiral said. "The ship Horizon leaves tomorrow morning. Prepare whatever you need, Ambassador, and good luck." Lily spent the night researching everything available about the Vorax, their culture, their tactics, their weaknesses. She learned they were a highly hierarchical species, with strict codes of conduct. Despite their aggression, they also valued certain formalities, especially when dealing with new species. The next morning, Lily boarded the Horizon along with a small team. She had personally selected Megan Torres, a brilliant tactician with experience in asymmetric warfare; Beth Palmer, a xenolinguist who might help decode Vorax communication; and Dr. Nicole Rivera, an expert in interspecies psychology. The journey to Zebulon 4 would take 12 days, even with the newest faster-than-light drives. Lily spent every waking hour preparing, reviewing Zebulon defense capabilities, consulting with her team, and developing multiple strategies that might save her friends from destruction. On the 8th day of their journey, Captain Samantha Lee called Lily to the bridge. "Ambassador, you need to see this." A long-range scan showed 5 massive ships approaching. Zebulon 4 from the opposite direction, their design unlike anything in Earth databases. The Vorax had arrived earlier than expected. "Can we increase speed?" Captain Lily asked urgently. "We're already at maximum," Captain Lee responded grimly. "Well, arrive 4 days after the Vorax make contact." Lily felt fear grip her heart but pushed it aside. The princess had reached out to her specifically believing humans could help. She would not let her friend down even if it meant attempting the impossible. "Ambassador." Torres approached her datapad in hand. I think I have something. Our scans show the Vorax ships rely on a specific communication frequency between vessels. If we could somehow disrupt that. Lily considered this an interesting approach, but we don't have the technical capabilities to jam their signals from this distance, she pointed out. No, Torres agreed, but the Zebulons might. Their crystal technology manipulates frequencies in ways our science is still trying to understand. If we could send them the right instructions before we arrive. Hope sparked in Lily for the first time since receiving the distress call. If they could just buy enough time until the horizon arrived, there might be a chance after all. She turned to Dr. Rivera. Could the Vorax be reasoned with, slowed down by diplomatic means? Possibly. Rivera nodded. Their culture places enormous value on formal negotiations before any conquest. It's ritualistic, almost religious to them. They believe victory is sweeter when their opponents fully understand they have been defeated. Lily felt a plan forming in her mind. What if we instructed the Zebulons to insist on the most elaborate formal negotiations possible, drawing out every ritual, every ceremony? The Vorax might be bound by their own cultural practices to comply, at least temporarily. The team worked through the night crafting a detailed message to be sent ahead to Zebulon IV, explaining exactly how to engage with the Vorax in ways that would delay any aggressive action. It was a desperate plan, but sometimes desperation bred the most innovative solutions. As the message transmitted across space, Lily gazed out at the stars, clutching the crystal pendant that connected her to a princess, waiting fearfully for help that seemed impossibly far away. Hold on, she whispered, we are coming. The massive Vorax ships entered Zebulon orbit, their dark hulls blocking out starlight. As they positioned themselves in a threatening formation above the crystal cities below, Princess Xylophrixanath stood in the royal communication chamber, surrounded by nervous advisors as they prepared to receive the first transmission from the invaders. The main screen flickered, revealing a Vorax commander, his scaled face dominated by 4 yellow eyes, and a mouth filled with metallic implants designed to show status and battle prowess. People of Zebulon, the commander spoke, his translator, converting his harsh language into the musical Zebulon tongue. I am Supreme Battle Leader Krozak of the glorious Vorax Empire. We claim this world and its resources. As rightful conquest, prepare for our landing parties and submit to resource extraction protocols. Resistance is unadvised. The princess stepped forward, her posture perfect, her tentacles arranged in the formal pattern of diplomatic engagement. Supreme Battle Leader Krozak, she responded. We acknowledge your arrival and request the honor of proper first contact negotiations as befits a power as mighty as the Vorax. The commander paused, clearly surprised by this response. Most species begged or threatened when faced with Vorax ships. The formal acknowledgement of their status was unexpected. The ancient traditions of conquest negotiations are rarely requested in modern times, he said, suspicion evident in his tone. Our research into your glorious empire indicates the Vorax hold sacred the rituals of formal conquest. The princess continued, following Lily's instructions precisely. We would consider it an honor to observe these traditions with such an esteemed representative as yourself. Krozak seemed to straighten his armored body, swelling with pride. The princess had appealed to his cultural vanity. Exactly as Lily had predicted, the Vorax valued their conquest traditions, but few species knew of them or respected their importance. Very well, he finally declared, we shall observe the 12 steps of imperial acquisition, beginning with the ceremony of intent. I shall descend with my elite guard in 6 hours to commence proceedings. The transmission ended, and the princess exhaled a sound like wind through crystal caves. We have gained 6 hours, she told her advisors. Now we must prepare everything exactly as Ambassador Martinez instructed. On the horizon, still 4 days from reaching Zebulon, Lily received confirmation that her message had been received and implemented. They took the bait, Captain Lee observed, looking at the transmission data the Vorax have initiated. Formal conquest protocols. It's just the beginning. Lily said, we need to help the Zebulons stretch out each step of the process, buying as much time as possible. The team worked tirelessly, sending detailed instructions to the Zebulons on how to extend each ritual offering, elaborate refreshments, requesting clarification of terms, suggesting traditional Zebulon ceremonies be incorporated as a sign of respect, every delay tactic they could devise. Meanwhile, engineer Olivia Wright had been quietly working on another approach using the ship's lab to study the crystal pendant the princess had given. Lily, Ambassador. I think I found something interesting. Wright called Lily over to her workstation. These crystals don't just produce sound, they can amplify and redirect energy on a quantum level. In theory, they could create a disruption field that might affect Vorax technology. Is there enough crystal on Zebulon to create such a field? Lily asked, hope rising. More than enough. Wright confirmed it's practically what their entire world is made of. They just never developed it as a defensive technology. Their peaceful culture never saw the need. Lily immediately composed a new message to the princess explaining Wright's discovery, along with basic instructions for reconfiguring their crystal communication network into a planetary defense system. It was theoretical and tested, but it might be their best chance back on Zebulon IV. The ceremony of intent had stretched from the planned 2 hours to nearly 8, as the princess insisted on the most elaborate version of the ritual possible presenting. Krozak with traditional gifts requiring complex explanations from both sides, and incorporating extended musical interludes that the Vorax sat through with thinly veiled impatience. When Lily's new message arrived, the princess excused herself from negotiations, claiming a need for ritual purification before the next ceremony, leaving Krozak and his guards to wait, while royal scientists were secretly assembled in the crystal core of the palace. The crystals have always been part of our communication network, one scientist explained as they studied Lily's instructions, but reconfiguring them to emit a disruption field that would specifically target Vorax systems would require precise calculations and perfect synchronization. We have no choice, the princess declared. Earth is still days away and we cannot stall the Vorax forever. Begin the reconfiguration immediately. As royal engineers worked beneath the palace, the princess returned to continue the negotiations, moving to the second ritual, the disclosure of resources, where the conquered world was to reveal all valuable materials and their locations. Supreme Battle Leader, the princess addressed Krozak. Our world has many treasures, but to properly catalog them as your traditions require, we must perform the ceremony of truthful revelation. It will add another day to our proceedings, but surely a leader of your stature would not wish to dishonor such an important step. Krozak's patience was clearly wearing thin, but the appeal to tradition and his status once again proved effective very well. He growled, one more day, but my fleet grows restless. Princess, do not test the limits of Vorax tolerance. As night fell over the crystal city, Krozak and his guards returned to their ships to wait for the next ceremony. While below the palace, Zebulon engineers worked frantically to implement Wright's design. Each hour bought was precious, each delay bringing the horizon and its human crew closer. Aboard the Vorax command ship, Krozak faced questions from his subordinates. Why do we tolerate these delays? A junior officer demanded. The crystals could be ours already. Krozak struck the officer, sending him sprawling. The rituals of conquest have been Vorax tradition for 10,000 years. They separate us from common pirates and raiders. They give our victories meaning. He snarled. But privately he wondered if the Zebulons were stalling intentionally, and if so, why. The next morning, as the Zebulons prepared for another day of elaborate ceremonies, a new challenge emerged. Vorax scanners had detected unusual energy patterns in the crystal formations. Something is happening, Krozak informed the princess when they reconvened. Your crystals are emitting strange energy signatures. Explain this immediately. Princess managed to maintain her composure. It is part of our preparation for the ceremony of truthful revelation, she improvised. The crystals must be harmonized to ensure no resources are hidden from your mighty empire. Krozak stared at her with all four eyes narrowed in suspicion. You test my patience, princess. I will allow one more day of your ceremonies, then we begin resource extraction with or without your cooperation. As he stormed out, the princess knew their time was running dangerously short. The horizon was still 2 days away, and the crystal defense system remained untested and incomplete. Aboard the Horizon, Lily paced the bridge, her mind racing as they pushed the engines beyond recommended limits. Captain Lee had authorized emergency protocols, shaving precious hours off their arrival time. But Lily feared it would not be enough. Our latest intelligence suggests the Vorax are growing suspicious. Megan Torres reported, showing Lily updated communication intercepts. They won't continue with the ceremonies much longer. We need another angle. Lily muttered. then turned to Beth Palmer, the xenolinguist who had been studying Vorax communication patterns. Have you found anything useful in their transmissions? Palmer nodded excitedly. Actually, yes, their language contains specific honorifics and status markers that must be used when addressing superiors. The wrong form of address can be considered a serious insult, requiring formal redress according to their military code. Lily considered this information another potential delay tactic, if we could somehow get the Zebulons to exploit this cultural sensitivity. Exactly, Palmer agreed. The princess could deliberately use slightly incorrect honorifics when addressing Krozak, not obviously wrong enough to seem intentional, but just incorrect enough to trigger their protocols. For addressing the insult, Lily immediately composed a message to the princess explaining this new strategy. It was risky. The Vorax might become angry, but anger channeled into formal procedures was better than impatience leading to immediate action. On Zebulon 4, the crystal defense system was nearly 70% complete, but engineers estimated another full day would be needed to achieve planet-wide coverage. The princess had almost exhausted all possible ceremonies, and Krozak had arrived for what he declared would be the final ritual before resource extraction began. Supreme Battle Leader Krozak, the princess greeted him, using the subtle linguistic error Palmer had identified. We are honored by your third-level presence as we complete the sacred negotiations. Krozak's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, his posture stiffening. Third level. He repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. I am Supreme Battle Leader, first-level commander of the entire Andromeda fleet. The princess feigned shock and embarrassment. 1,000 apologies, exalted one, she bowed deeply. Our translator must have malfunctioned. Such a grievous error cannot go unaddressed. The other Vorax officers shifted uncomfortably, looking to their leader for guidance. Krozak seemed torn between rage and obligation. According to the ancient code of Krozaks, the princess continued, any insult to rank must be formally addressed through the ritual of status restoration, before any other business can proceed. The Vorax officers nodded in agreement. Much to Krozak's visible frustration, he could not ignore his own cultural mandates without losing face before his subordinates. Very well, he growled. The ritual of status. Restoration will commence. Immediately bring the necessary materials. The princess concealed her relief as she ordered servants to prepare for the elaborate ceremony that, according to Vorax tradition, would require at least 6 hours to complete properly. Meanwhile, beneath the Crystal Palace, royal engineers worked frantically to complete the final connections in the defense network. Only a few hours more, and the system could be tested if it worked. As Engineer Wright theorized, it would create a disruption field that would render Vorax technology inoperable, at least temporarily. The ritual of status restoration proved even more time-consuming than Lily had hoped. Krozak was required to recite his complete lineage, military achievements, and battle honors, while the princess and her court acknowledged each with specific responses and offerings. By the time they reached the midpoint of the ceremony, night had fallen again. On the horizon, now less than 24 hours from Zebulon, Lily received an urgent message from the princess. The engineers had completed the Crystal Defense Network, but initial tests showed it was only partially effective. The disruption field affected Vorax communications, but not their weapon systems. We need to strengthen the field. Engineer Wright explained after reviewing the test data. The crystals need to resonate at a specific frequency to disrupt their weapon signatures. Could the Zebulons singing affect the crystal resonance? Lily asked, suddenly remembering how the royal court used harmonic vocalizations in their ceremonies. Wright looked surprised, then thoughtful. Theoretically, yes, their vocal harmonics do interact with the crystal structures. It's part of their communication system. If enough Zebulons sang at the precise frequencies needed, it could potentially amplify the disruption field. Lily immediately sent new instructions to the princess explaining the theory and providing the exact frequencies needed. It was their last best hope before the horizon arrived. The ritual of status restoration, finally, concluded with Krozak seemingly appeased, though his patience had clearly reached its limit. Tomorrow, we begin extraction, he announced. All ceremonies are now complete. The princess bowed in acknowledgement. Supreme Battle Leader, First Level Commander of the Andromeda Fleet. We have one final tradition to share with you before your glorious conquest is complete. The Song of Surrender is an ancient Zebulon tradition that honors worthy conquerors. It would be performed tonight by our entire population. Krozak hesitated, suspicion warring with his cultural appreciation for conquest traditions. Such a public acknowledgement of Vorak's superiority would be valuable propaganda. 1 hour, he finally declared. We will witness your Song of Surrender. Then at dawn, extraction begins regardless of any other traditions you might suddenly remember. As Krozak returned to his ship to prepare for the ceremony, the princess enacted her most desperate plan. Royal messengers spread throughout the crystal cities explaining to all Zebulons that they must gather in the central plaza and sing together at specific frequencies, not as a true surrender but as their only chance for survival. As night deepened, thousands of Zebulons assembled in concentric circles around the central crystal spire, their tentacles connecting in communal patterns as they prepared to sing, with one voice, one purpose, one hope aboard his command ship. Krozak watched the gathering with growing unease. Something about the scale of the assembly troubled him. He ordered additional scans of the crystal structures. Energy readings are increasing rapidly. A Vorax technician reported the crystals are amplifying some kind of resonance field. Krozak slammed his fist on the command console. This is no surrender ceremony. Prepare weapons, target their central spire. But before the order could be carried out, the Zebulons began to sing their harmonics, perfectly synchronized at the frequencies. Engineer Wright had calculated the crystal spire, glowed brightening with each passing moment as the resonance built and spread throughout the planetary network. On the Vorax ship's alarms blared as systems began failing. Communications went dark. Weapons controls froze, navigation consoles flickered and died. The singing had created the perfect disruption field amplified by the natural properties of the crystal planet. Krozak roared with rage as his mighty flagship became little more than a floating hull trapped in orbit with no way to command his fleet or communicate with his empire. For the first time in his long career of conquest, the supreme battle leader found himself completely powerless. The horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zebulon system sensors, immediately detecting the 5 massive Vorax vessels orbiting the crystal world. Captain Lee ordered battle stations. But something seemed odd about the enemy ships. They're just sitting there? Torres observed, studying the tactical display. No movement, no energy signatures, they're completely inert. Lily felt a surge of hope. Could the crystal disruption field have actually worked? Try hailing the planet, she requested. The communications officer nodded, making several attempts before a response came through. Ambassador Martinez. The princess voice filled the bridge, tinged with exhaustion but also triumph. Your plan succeeded. The crystal resonance disabled. Their technology, the Vorax fleet, has been neutralized. Cheers erupted across the bridge as the crew realized they had arrived to find the battle already won through ingenuity rather than weapons. Lily felt immense pride in both her team and the Zebulons who had implemented their desperate plan so perfectly. We still have a problem. Captain Lee interrupted the celebration, gesturing to the tactical display. Those Vorax ships may be disabled now, but eventually they'll either fix their systems, or their empire will send reinforcements when they lose contact. We need a more permanent solution. Lily nodded, her mind already working on the next phase. We need to open communications with Krozak using the Horizon's specialized communication array. Calibrated to penetrate the disruption field, they established contact with the Vorax flagship, where a furious Krozak appeared on screen. Who dares contact me? The supreme battle leader snarled. Lily stepped forward. I am Ambassador Lily Martinez, representing both Earth and by formal agreement Zebulon 4, she said calmly. You find yourself in a difficult position, supreme battle leader. Krozak laughed harshly. One small Earth vessel cannot challenge my fleet. Once we restore our systems, your ship will be destroyed. Perhaps Lily acknowledged, or perhaps you should consider that this small ship arrived after your systems failed, suggesting we have technology immune to whatever disabled your fleet. She was bluffing, but Krozak had no way to know that. The Horizon systems were simply different enough from Vorax technology to remain unaffected by the crystal resonance. More importantly, she continued, while you were busy with ceremonies, we transmitted your fleet position to both Earth and the Galactic Concord, other ships are already on their way. This too was only partially true. They had sent messages, but reinforcements were weeks away. Still, the seed of doubt was planted in Krozak's mind. "What do you want, human?" he demanded. "A diplomatic solution?" Lily replied, "One that preserves your honor while protecting Zebulon Krozak's." Four eyes narrowed impossibly. "There is no honor in retreat." Lily smiled. "Then it is fortunate I am not suggesting retreat, but rather a mutually beneficial arrangement, one that acknowledges Vorak's strength while establishing a new precedent for resource acquisition." Despite his anger, Krozak seemed intrigued. "Explain." Captain Lee looked concerned as Lily outlined her proposal, but trusted the ambassador enough to let her continue. "The Zebulons are willing to establish a trade agreement with the Vorax Empire." Lily explained certain crystal resources provided annually as tribute in exchange for recognition of Zebulon sovereignty and protection, a formal alliance, rather than conquest. "Such arrangements are not the Vorax way," Krozak growled. "We take what we need. And yet your ships remain disabled." Lily pointed out, "While mine does not, how long before your empire sends an investigative force to learn why their supreme battle leader has gone silent? Would they reward failure? Or would someone else assume your command?" The threat hung in the air. Krozak understood the politics of his empire well enough to know his position would be at risk if he returned. "Without either conquest or significant concessions, you offer tribute without battle," he said thoughtfully. "This has not happened before." Precisely, Lily pressed her advantage. "You would be the first Vorax commander to establish such an arrangement, creating a new tradition that might prove more efficient than conquest in some cases. Think of the resources saved, the expansion possibilities." Torres whispered in Lily's ear feed. "His ego. Make it seem like his idea." Lily nodded subtly. "A commander of your strategic brilliance must see the advantage here." She continued, "Resources acquired without losses, establishing your legacy as an innovator among your people." Krozak's posture shifted slightly. The idea clearly appealing to him. "I would require significant tribute to justify such an unusual arrangement." "Of course," Lily agreed. "The princess and I will negotiate fair terms that demonstrate proper respect for Vorak's power." After several tense moments, Krozak finally spoke. "I will consider your proposal. Prepare terms for my review. This is not acceptance, merely willingness to hear your offer." The communication ended, and Captain Lee exhaled heavily. That was either brilliant or insane. "Ambassador, maybe both," Lily admitted with a small smile. "But it gives us time. The disruption field keeps his ships contained while we negotiate, and the longer we talk, the more it seems like his idea." The next 3 days were filled with intense negotiations, Lily and the princess working together to craft terms that would satisfy Vorak's pride while protecting Zebulon interests. Engineer Wright worked with Zebulon scientists to create a modified disruption field that could be activated selectively, allowing the Vorak's limited system functionality during discussions while maintaining the capability to disable them if needed. Krozak proved to be a shrewd negotiator. Despite his disadvantaged position, demanding substantial crystal shipments and formal recognition of Vorak's supremacy in official documents, Lily countered with carefully worded agreements that acknowledged Vorak's strength while embedding protections for Zebulon. On the 4th day, a preliminary agreement was reached. The Vorax would receive annual shipments of specific crystal types not essential to Zebulon society, but valuable for Vorax technology. In exchange, Zebulon would be designated a protected resource world with formal alliance status in the Vorax Empire. When Krozak signed the agreement using both Vorax and Zebulon formal protocols, Lily allowed herself to breathe normally. For the first time in weeks, they had achieved the impossible, transforming an invasion into a negotiated peace without firing a single shot. The princess hosted a celebration in the Grand Crystal Hall where Zebulon citizens and the crew of the Horizon mingled, while Krozak and his senior officers attended with formal stiffness but growing curiosity about these species that had outsmarted them. "You have changed Vorak's history," Krozak told Lily during a quiet moment. "I began by despising your interference, but now find myself intrigued by the possibilities this new approach offers." Lily smiled. "Diplomacy often reveals paths not visible when viewing the universe only through weapon scopes," she replied. As the Vorax fleet prepared to depart with promises of returning in one standard year, for the first resource exchange, Lily stood with the princess watching from the palace observation deck. "You have saved our world twice." Now the princess said, her tentacles forming patterns of deep gratitude, first through cultural understanding, and now through strategic wisdom. "I only provided ideas," Lily responded. "It was your people who implemented them, who sang together to create the disruption field, who showed courage in the face of invasion." The princess' tentacles shifted in what Lily now recognized as thoughtful consideration. "Perhaps this is the true power of our alliance. Neither of us could have succeeded alone, but together we found strength beyond our separate capabilities." Lily nodded. "That is the foundation of real friendship. Recognizing that our differences create opportunities rather than obstacles." As the Vorax ships disappeared into the purple sky now, restored to full function but bound by treaty, the princess turned to Lily. "There's much to rebuild and prepare. The Galactic Concord will want reports, negotiations for formal recognition. We need someone who understands both Zebulon and the wider galaxy, someone trusted by my people." 1 year later, Lily stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Interspecies Diplomatic Center, watching as ships from a dozen different worlds moved through Zebulon space. What had begun as a crisis had transformed into opportunity. The ingenuity shown during the Vorax encounter had attracted attention. Throughout the Galaxy Ambassador, the princess approached, her tentacles arranged in the now familiar pattern of friendship. "The Galactic Concord representatives have arrived. Shall we greet them together?" Lily smiled, adjusting the crystal translator pendant she now wore, permanently a gift from the Zebulon people, after she had accepted the position as their official representative to the wider galaxy. "Of course, Your Highness," she replied, falling into step beside her alien friend. The past year had been transformative for both Zebulon and Earth. The crystal technology that had saved the planet from invasion had been refined and developed into revolutionary new communication systems, defense networks, and even medical applications shared freely between the allied worlds. Even more importantly, the peaceful resolution with the Vorax had established a new diplomatic paradigm. Other aggressive species were now considering alliance options rather than pure conquest economics, gradually replacing warfare as the preferred method of expansion. The grand reception hall sparkled with crystal light as representatives from the Galactic Concord arrived, their diverse forms reflecting the variety of evolutionary paths across the stars. Lily had met most of them during previous negotiations, but today was different. Today, Zebulon would be formally recognized as a full member of the interstellar community. The lead Concord diplomat, Ambassador Shylax, a tall ethereal being with translucent skin, approached the princess, and Lily greeting them with the formal gestures of diplomatic equals. "This day has been long anticipated," he said, his voice resonating through the crystal chamber. "Zebulon brings unique perspective and technology to our alliance." The princess performed the traditional response, her movements graceful and assured. "We come with open tentacles and harmonious intent to join in the greater song of galactic civilization." As the formal ceremonies began, Lily found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. It had started with something so simple, learning to pronounce a name correctly, showing respect for another culture. Yet that small act had cascaded into galactic significance. The Concord Treaty was displayed on crystal screens throughout the hall, written in 27 different languages, each with its own subtle cultural nuances that Lily and her expanded team of linguists had carefully balanced, ensuring no species felt diminished or elevated above others. "Lily Martinez of Earth?" Ambassador Shylax addressed her. "Your contribution to this historic moment cannot be overstated." When the Vorax situation was resolved peacefully, many dismissed it as fortunate circumstance, but your subsequent diplomatic achievements have demonstrated a pattern of innovation that has transformed interspecies relations. Lily bowed slightly, acknowledging the compliment. "I only built upon foundations laid by others, both human and Zebulon." She responded, "The true achievement belongs to all who were willing to look beyond differences to find common purpose." As the ceremony proceeded, Lily noticed a familiar figure entering the hall. Supreme Battle Leader Krozak, now wearing the formal diplomatic insignia of the Vorax Empire, alongside his military decorations. In the year since their confrontation, the resource agreement had proven so successful that Krozak had been elevated to Imperial Diplomatic overseer his new approaches bringing unprecedented prosperity to his people. Without the costly destruction of traditional conquest, Ambassador Martinez, he greeted her with the formal Vorax salute reserved for respected equals. Your presence continues to reshape the galaxy in unexpected ways, and yours demonstrates that even the most established traditions can evolve when given reason to do so. Lily replied. The signing ceremony. United representatives from 57 worlds, including several former adversaries now cautiously aligned through similar agreements to the one pioneered with the Vorax. As each dignitary added their mark to the historic document, Lily felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Ambassador Torres, now heading her own diplomatic mission, approached with a smile. Did you ever imagine when you were practicing alien pronunciation in your apartment that it would lead to this? Lily laughed softly. Not in my wildest dreams. I just wanted to show respect to one person, and somehow, that expanded into all of this. She gestured to the gathered representatives. Later, as celebration music filled the crystal hall, the princess found Lily watching the mingling of species that would have seemed impossible just a year before. You are contemplative tonight, the princess observed. Lily nodded. I was thinking about ripples, how one small action can spread outward, affecting things far beyond its origin. The princess tentacles formed a pattern Lily now recognized as philosophical consideration. In Zebulon belief, we say that all actions sing into the cosmic harmony, some as whispers, some as shouts, but all becoming part of the greater song, a beautiful way to understand it. Lily agreed. The princess gestured toward the crystal pendant. Lily, war that continues to glow with my name harmonics. It reminds me of our beginning when a human took the time to say my name correctly. Something no off-worlder had ever managed. That small respect changed everything. Lily acknowledged. Not the respect itself, the princess corrected, but what it represented, the willingness to see value in difference, to work, to understand rather than simply impose or demand your own way. It is this philosophy that has spread from our first meeting to now influence 57 worlds. Lily considered this profound insight when humanity first reached the stars. We feared what was different. We prepared for conflict, built weapons, designed protocols for war. Yet when the moment came, you chose another path, the princess noted, and in doing so showed not just Zebulons but many species, including the Vorax, that difference need not lead to destruction. As the celebration continued into the night, representatives from worlds that had once been bitter enemies now engaged in cautious but productive dialogue. Krozak discussing resource management with a species the Vorax had previously considered only as potential conquests, members of the Galactic conquered, sharing technological innovations that would benefit diverse biologies. Lily knew challenges remained. Some species still clung to aggressive expansion. Others viewed cooperation as weakness. The galaxy was vast and filled with unknown dangers. Yet for this moment, watching the impossible become reality, she allowed herself to feel genuine hope. The princess joined her at the observation window, her crystal body reflecting the starlight. What comes next? Lily Martinez of Earth. Now that Zebulon has joined the Concord. Lily smiled, gazing at the stars visible through the crystal dome above. There are still so many worlds to discover, so many names to learn to pronounce correctly, so many differences to explore and understand. The princess tentacles formed the pattern for shared purpose. Then we shall continue together, she said, both their crystal pendants humming in perfect harmony as they contemplated the endless possibilities among the stars.